Hey, what's going on, everyone? Astrologer Eric Rosen here, and this is Viking Rising Astrology, and this is your August report for your zodiac sign, your sun, your rising, and your moon sign. But before I get into the overall collective astrology and like why this month is so freaking important, as well as getting into the zodiac signs, I do want to announce I did just complete my $33 ebook that teaches you what the placements are in your natal chart, in your birth chart, sun, moon, your rising sign, the planets, Chiron, the nodes. Like, if you've ever wondered like what is the exact interpretation of like what those different things mean, not only in the different zodiac signs themselves in your chart, but also the houses as well as a part of astrology that I get into in that ebook, that's something that you can purchase. That link will be down below this video. It's $33. It's available anytime. Of course, astrology readings are always available as well to actually like really pull in, you know, the whole picture of like what's going on in your chart. You'll see in the ebook, it's like I give as much as I can without it being a full-blown reading, right? Because it's like it's an ebook of your chart. It still has its limitations, but if you're just like wanting to like get the broken down version of like, well, what does this mean here? What does this mean here? This is the ebook that you're going to want to purchase. So speaking of August, let's talk about it. You know, it's an interesting month, and I say that because with it being the last month of Pluto and Aquarius, at least until the end of November, and we also have Saturn and Jupiter that are going to be squaring the whole month. So this is like trash compactor energy. This is like restrictive energies, especially with Jupiter and Gemini, Saturn and Pisces. This is where it's a reality check of sorts. It's a massive reality check of our circumstances, making sure that the steps that we're doing make sense mentally, but also, you know, intuitively too. But does it make sense for our long-term reality? Does it make sense for the old reality that we're going to be revisiting with Pluto and Capricorn coming up these next 3 months, where it's like the school of hard knocks? It can feel like haves and have-nots, like really having to achieve things. And so like it's basically like in terms of a sense of empowerment and like where we thought the future was going, it's not that it's not going that way. It's just that we're putting a pause on that for now. And so everything that's happened this year has been the chapter that we're going into the next 20 years, but now we're going to be revisiting the last 15, 16 years over approximately this next 3-month span. And so we're sort of in an in-between zone where we can't just assume that things are going to work out or that the future is going this way. Like, we actually are revisiting this whole timeline with Pluto and Capricorn. And so it's making sure that we're doing those things that make sense, but at the same time, it's also not, you know, abandoning the highest timeline that we want to go on, which is a fancy way of saying, you know, your dream, your vision, like where you want to go, where you want to connect in the world, like where do you see your life going the next, you know, 20 years, which I know that can seem crazy because, you know, we're still going through these crazy throes of everything since 2020 and just the fluctuations and the reality of things. But at least like with this month, you know, I can break down the zodiac signs of like, what are the things that you can do to prepare basically for Pluto and Capricorn, like how to make the best out of this time to still choose what I call like the freedom frequency of like, you have options and choices to make changes, even though the limitations are already setting in. But it's like, it's still showing up with almost like a grandfather kind of like energy. It's like, I see the storms coming, you know, he like starts like pulling things in the house, you know, that are going to get dusted up by the storm. But there doesn't have to be a rush to it. There doesn't have to be a franticness like to it. I would not advise that. I would advise it overall as more of just like prudence, you know, just wise choices that just make sense. It's like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, make sure your basic needs are met, you know, and still use the skill set that you love, have confidence in the things that you're doing and creating in your life, and stay optimistic, but it's a fact check optimism spiritually of, you know, I think the worst thing anyone could do would to like not make any change and just like fall into like fear and paralysis and being like frozen right now and waiting for things to like work out like better. When they're just adjustments, there's just changes that need to be made. So not to scare anyone, it's just, you know, we've been moving through some really intense astrology since the end of 2017, and I'll be completely honest, we still have another 2020 next year and in 2026 are some massive transformational years that we haven't even probably been able to fathom fully yet what that experience is going to be like. But I can tell you that it's going to rival the things that happened in 2020. I will say that. But you know, at least we've been exposed to that type of stuff before. So getting into your zodiac signs, we of course start with Aries. So sun, rising, and your moon if you want to do it. Well, Aries, I mean, straightforward. I think the best change that you can do in your life right now is to change your thinking, especially around how you see yourself. I would use this time for like free write journaling to self-reflect. I would even go so far as to do an exercise of like for 10 minutes, just write down every thought that you're having basically, and then go back and like look and actually like see what thoughts you're actually having, how positive are they, how negative of they are, because I think right now your thoughts are going to be really reflective of who that you think that you are, especially in terms of your wounds and sensitivities with Chiron in your sign, and that you want to kind of like lift yourself up. It's not like fibbing to yourself. It's more just like lifting up your vibe to go still connect and serve others. You know, it's like creating connections. It's kind of like networking, but it's more just like groups of people. It's the greater world at large. It's like, it's going deep into exploring like connections, but you want to make sure that you bring a spark to these situations, like with people, and that spark is going to be you kind of knowing yourself and like being very present and mentally focused, because it's not a time that you can just like show up and just be like, hey, I'm here. You know, like you want to put your best foot forward, even if that foot is with that Chiron in your sign of being like, hey, like I'm a healer, you know, like, and speak your truth, you know, and just be rational and honest about where things are at. Because the thing is that when Pluto comes back into Capricorn in your sign, it's going to be way more about status, your career, your long-term achievement. And so I almost think that there's this component of the more you know yourself, the more people that you're connected to, when it seems like things like kind of like slim down and things continue to feel narrow and contraction oriented, you just have less to deal with, because you're like, okay, I know more about myself. I know who I like to connect with just in the world in general, the people that help me, the people that I help. And so then you can focus on that bigger goal when that comes. So it's like, it's making sure that you're dealing with that stuff now, because it can feel like the weight of the world on your shoulders when Pluto comes back into Capricorn. If you're also still unsure of yourself, or your thoughts are negative, or you're not paying attention to your circumstances, or you're missing chances to just talk with people and connect with people and create basically just changes that are possible in your life, whatever that looks like. So when it comes to Taurus, this is all going to be about manifestation for you, to put it really basic, but it's especially the creation element around service. Making sure that people know who you are in terms of your skill set, your values, like what you can do. I don't think it's about like boasting or proving. I think it's more just like talking about it, having conversations about it, especially with people in person, especially like in stable ways of like sharing like what the value of it is, the things that you do. You know, taking the time to like have creative projects that express those things. still using your thoughts, dialing your thoughts into positivity of manifestation of where you want things to go. And if there's any wounds that you feel that are holding you back, just like sit with those sensitivities, like as you're creating, you know, like it's just like kind of like witness them and don't like go to war with them, you know, and get caught in this like up and down battle of like your past or your, you know, your old wounds or trust issues with people. And it's more just about, you know, okay, I see that thing coming up, and then it's like using your magical antenna. It's like, you know, tuning your crown chakra, your frequency, and being like, okay, well, I see this thing coming up, but like, do I really have to engage in this battle? Like, this is how I'm feeling. My mind's in the past right now. I'm focused in the past with this sensitivity. Let me tune my focus to what I'm creating, what I'm manifesting with service. I would look at this as not being too all over the place though too, and just seeing if you can get really good at focusing on really developing like one thing for this month. Because I do, there's a little bit too of like a manifesting, so that if you need to like invest in like expanding yourself, like expanding like your education, or like bringing in like a set of tools to help you with your career or a sense of personal spiritual destiny with things of something that you're wanting to create, that you like laid the blocks out ahead of time, you've got the resources, you can't actually invest the time if there's money involved to actually grow in that way, to have those expansive tools come in for you. So when it comes to Gemini, this is a lot of the focus for you this month is definitely around your career, people in the world, like service, being serviced by, but also yourself as well. I would honestly I would keep this simple, Gemini, because I feel like there's too much, you know, it can be too much of this, like which way to go, you know, almost like a cartoon character. You went that way, you went that way. And it's like, just go serve. And if that's still too broad, I would go, what is a challenge that you're dealing with personally in life, your biggest challenge that you would pay money to solve, and work on solving that, and then start working on that, and then go make that an offering as a service to someone. And even if, you know, you're like working a job or whatever, and it's just like a project, and it's not like a business career thing, you know, like you don't have like full autonomy or something, like in a job career situation, I would still look at what's the biggest challenge, work on solving that, and then at least create the value in yourself that you are capable of going out and offering that to people, like to help them. And I think in you doing this and solving this like one big challenge, I think when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, there's just less fear later in terms of anything that deals with like a dark night of the soul, or money stuff, or you know, trusting the mystery of life, of like where it's going. It's kind of like create some confidence in yourself, create some momentum in yourself of making sure whatever that biggest thing that's just like showing up in front of your face, that you grapple with that. Because I think that you might be surprised, it might seem like you want to go all these different directions, but in dealing with this one big thing, it's almost like your master tool, almost like, you know, like being MacGyver, like you've only got like one tool, but it does like 7 different things, and it's going to solve a bunch of different things in your life. And I think it deals especially with resiliency. It's the resiliency to solve whatever that biggest challenge is in your life. Cancer, this is going to be about letting go of what you thought that you knew, which I know is a bummer. I think that, you know, Cancer, like you're wanting to expand, but I think it's going to be more about you playing it kind of simple. Like it's letting go of the things that you thought in terms of like your long-term goals, business, career. And it's just like being simple and just like achieving your goals, and just like not really worrying like too much about a know-it-all attitude or like a belief system about how you think things should go, because it's almost like would overcomplicate the process. this reminds me of like people that, like some people, they go and they invest in real estate and it doesn't go well. And then you have other people that they do well. And then sometimes it's actually the person that is actually very intelligent, but they overthink it and they don't do well. And then it's like the person that actually keeps it simple and they're actually maybe don't have that same intelligence. They're almost like not even intelligent enough to know like that there's how risky it is, or like there's you know, issues that could come up. And it seems like maybe they just got lucky, but really they more so just kind of trusted their internal guidance system. And I think that's a big part for you, Cancer, is just trusting that intuition to go invest in doing the goals that you want to satisfy you in this area, to let go of any doubt. You know, if you're feeling like, I don't know, like people are not as smart as you want them to be, or, you know, it's like it deals with people, belief issues, you believing in like it not being overcomplicated, and that you can actually just kind of like clear it a little bit and really just focus on just the simple stuff you're doing achievement wise. Sounds easier said than done, but like when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, it's going to deal a lot with your, let's call it your status, like with the relationships that you're in. Like it's like you're dealing with like relationship stuff now, and so it's going to deal a lot with like, but what is your status in the world of like who you're connected to? And so you almost need to like play the straight and narrow, and just like, even though it might feel sensitive, of just being business savvy, because I don't think you're doing this, but it's almost like you don't want to piss off people that you know, like just being careful to like ride it steady and to just like take care of business and like not have like too much like drama that makes things harder, because you're going to want to have steady connections going into this next 3-month cycle. So I would just focus on keeping it simple, Cancer, in that way. Well, when it comes to Leo, I'm even like sitting up straight for this one, Leo. So I'm just like kind of lounging in my office, drinking my cacao and, you know, doing a video for everyone here. This might sound strange, Leo, but I think this is about you being honest with people right now. This is looking at like, where's the future like really going, and you're wanting to expand, but then also like being honest about how the circumstances are actually showing up, you know, like what's the pattern, and then having those conversations with people, even if it's tough. I think this is meant to actually put you in a place of like leadership, like where you're having any tough conversations, because this is so focused on not only your close relationships, but I would say even in terms of like the people that you serve, like too, and being like, hey, here's what's up, here's the facts of like what I have going on. Because the thing is that when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, you're gonna have to like work pretty hard, like you did kind of the past 16 years, to like elevate to where you're at status wise. And so it's dealing with any like issues now, especially communication wise, people like the fact check, the honesty of like where things are going, because you don't want that stress added on top of what you're, you know, going to be going through. So I would just keep it simple in that way, Leo. Virgo, this is about your deep commitments, your long-term commitments. Like, are you really willing to put in the work, put in the practice of things to be great at whatever it is that you're doing? It might include facing fears, you know, like being like, yeah, whatever, these self-worth issues are bullshit. Because what's coming with Pluto coming back into Capricorn is it's more about having this like fun, youthful vibe, but where you kind of like can still have like pride in your work. And so I would just look at this as like seeing it through, Virgo, like this next month, like any like feelings of like a dark tunnel effect of like, oh, I can see the light, but I don't know if it's a light at the end of the tunnel that I want to go into. And I think it is, but I think that light only feels good because you put in the work and you stay tenacious and whatever your commitments are as you're climbing out of that tunnel, because it's almost like the effect of like you come out of the tunnel and you were kind of like huffing and wheezing and worrying and all this stuff. And then you get out and you're like, actually, that wasn't that bad. I was more just in my head making this last month bad. So it's like, it's really making the best of it, but it's making the best of like a push, to really commit in like the work piece of it, Virgo. And I think it'll pay off better, and you'll just enjoy things more after this month wraps up. So when it comes to Libra, I think you've been putting a lot of work into your relationships, go figure, but I think it's more about keeping your relationships simple right now, like simple growth, simple conversation, straightforward. You'll learn who you are from it, but it's being more direct in that, because this is especially love situations, I would say, but it's like, I want you to more adjust your work mindset that you're diligent with of your thinking to like more your foundation, like this is really like considering your thoughts and your beliefs about your reality and navigating those complexities and just being like, wait, like, okay, can you do the best with this month right now of the freedom opportunities to tune your thoughts to positive beliefs that are actually going to make things better, to where when you have to deal more with like your physical, emotional foundation of just like making sure that you're safe, that you didn't keep over investing in your relationships and like you more invested like in your mental, subconscious mind to make sure that whatever foundational challenges like come starting in September, that you use this month to like get your mindset straight to where it's like a can-do attitude of like, I can handle anything. And that you didn't, because I don't want you to be like, oh fuck, I worried so much, I put so much in this relationship, and then you feel behind the 8 ball because you didn't like hear the rally cry like within your soul to like make sure that like you're the strongest like version of yourself, especially from like a believing in yourself, believing that you can tweak your circumstances, that you can create a better reality now, and that it's and the gate is not through the relationship. The relationship or even a self-improvement situation on yourself isn't going to do it all of like creating more comfort in yourself. It's more so about like really doing the hard work to like be that boss mindset. So, well, Scorpio, I think you are probably been focused a lot on your home life situation, like your privacy, emotional, deep reflections, trying to find comfort, which is fine. I think you're going to be revisiting more of like a mental health, finding stability in your mindset, like in that after August, starting in September with that Pluto and Capricorn. And so during that time, I think you're going to have to be revisiting a cycle in some way, shape, or fashion of like having to deal with like getting by with less, which I hate. It's not like you can't be prosperous or do well or something, Scorpio. It's more just like any restrictions that you perceive in your life where you're like, oh, I have this right here in front of me, and it's like I have to ration it, or I have this in front of me. So whether it's like time, your schedule, money, I think that you're also feeling a lot of like pressure right now, like with whether it's like love, romance, it could be sex, money, situations, even just like stuff with your inner child. And it's okay to be feeling that. I feel like the way out though, to not get like swallowed up and like just trying to only like work through the things that are making you uncomfortable that maybe you want to deal with, that it's actually dealing with like the most simple thing, which is actually your day-to-day schedule, your work life. Like, are you doing, it's really simple. It's like math, it's simple math. Are you doing enough? Do the tactics make sense of the actions that you're taking to actually like make sure your life is like practical enough that you're okay like from a also physical reality source of things, that it's like, yes, there's the inner work, but there's also just like making sure that like, you know, you've probably already had some like fact checks in terms of some things maybe. So it's like more so like dealing with that stuff. And that I think the stress of anything that you're dealing with on those elements that I mentioned will roll off your shoulders easier, just because you're just taking care of the basics and taking care of business. And so that type of like whistle while you work ethic will be really good for when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, because you're already kind of adjusted to, oh, I didn't just spend my time trying to feel better in these situations where I'm uncomfortable, there's pressure, or I don't like how I feel, and like you actually like we're doing the work, and that it's more of an easy transition, because you're like, okay, like, wow, yeah, Eric was right, Pluto and Capricorn, but it's like, okay, like at least I got the hang of this. You know, I've fallen off my board a few times, like trying to surf, but I'm glad I went out to practice on the waves instead of like just trying to lay here and like get like the perfect tan or something. So when it comes to Sagittarius, I think this is a good time for you. Like, I think you can still focus on the stuff around being the best expression of yourself, self-love, having fun, you know, feeling youthful, just like feeling good about yourself. But I think that there's some pressure, especially in your like family, private, relationship life, and probably romantic as well. And there's probably a realignment that you're going through, which is tough, because you kind of have to like keep shining, but then like also like having a lot of like conversations to like work the kinks out, like with any pressuristic relationship, family, home life situations, and that it's actually worth the effort. You know, like you may think like, oh, these are the circumstances of my life and I feel good and I want to like keep growing or expanding or doing these things that I enjoy, and maybe like not deal with like the relationship stuff, or it feels like a burden. But the thing is that the circumstances are, I don't want to say reversing, but they are changing to like go back to the old reality of like dealing with like, oh, like how is my money situation? How is my self-worth? Do I actually feel really confident in earning? And so you're going to kind of get the karmic revisiting of the last 16 years of you building up to that point. So it's like you putting in the effort now to figure out any like relationship alignment issues is going to be helpful, because you'll realize that you need some really stable support in your relationships, that, you know, the circumstances of the things that you're focused on like will change. And so and it's not in a bad way, it's just like kind of like taking a mental note that it's like, well, I enjoy this stuff, but the love, the fun, that's based on these circumstances continuing to go in this Pluto and Aquarius way, when it's actually going to go in a different way. So it's like, do the maintenance work on the relationship stuff now. That's going to really help with like that stuff that starts in September. And then, you know, it's not like you're leaving behind the stuff that you love to do. You know, you might just be like putting pause on the recording until Pluto comes back into Aquarius at the end of November. So when it comes to Capricorns, self-worth, money, manifesting, I think these are a lot of the things that you're probably focused on right now. You know, Pluto hanging on in Aquarius is dealing with those things. And I feel you probably have the most interesting horoscope, Capricorn, because like out of every sign, it's like a lot of signs, it's like needing to put like more effort in to things. I almost feel like you have to like watch out for putting in too much effort in things that maybe you think will be beneficial, but it's not actually like realistically going to help things. It might be the way that you want to feel, but it's like, is it actually going to do the best for your long-term, you know, reality? Because I think for the long term, believe it or not, I think that it's kind of like relaxing a little bit, letting go of some of the stress and the emotional stress, that you can't try to change fate with Pluto coming back into your sign, that that fate part's not going to change, and some of the efforts that you want to be like jovial like aren't going to matter, and you're going to have to like go through a massive undertaking, identity shift anyway. So I know that might sound like a balloon pop a little bit, but it's like you don't want to over put energy and like work into like some big area that's connected to like a false emotional sense of your identity that's going to be shifting anyway. And then you got to go through this like same thing that you've been going through for 16 years, which is like starting and stopping and getting delays and things that you're trying to achieve. And just focus more on the achievement piece of like, what are the things that you can do that feel good emotionally for your identity, just to like get better and good at practicing kind of surrendering to just like, I'm safe, I can sit here, I can feel like I can surrender to Pluto when it comes back into my sign. I can let it transform me and see like where my life is really meant to go, because that's the weird thing, Capricorn, is like your life trying to actually go in the direction that you want it to go. It's just full of false starts and things that can feel maybe exciting for you to like work on a day-to-day basis, but you almost have to just really go with the basics. How am I actually feeling? How's my body feeling? And to not stress, because that added stress creates fear, and then it's hard to surrender and actually like go into accepting the fate of what Pluto and Capricorn is going to bring when it comes back. So bum bum bum. Aquarius, well, so it's been Pluto in your sign all this year, and now you're getting a break. So I would be using this month as more just like, okay, like this is what Pluto's doing to my identity. I'm changing, I'm shifting, like observing, and like, okay, you know. And then when it goes back into Capricorn, it's like, whoa, like this place again, like this tunnel, like this weird place. But it's like, I think it's like playing it cool, Aquarius, which you know how to do. It's like playing it coy, just kind of like, whoa, you know. It reminds me of like Bill from Bill and Ted, like, whoa, you know, like be surprised, you know, by it, but like don't attach to like some like stressed out thing, because your mindset is key right now of focusing on the facts and, you know, keeping it simple and just, you know, seeing like, okay, this is what this is. It's like being very neutral, very hermetic, like it's like Hermes Mercury in astrology, right? It's like you're not swaying one way or the other emotionally. I think that you're feeling pressure, probably like more so like in love, creative, passion situations. And I would use this time to just kind of like relax and create and manifest. I would like, you know, I would just like be like looking and seeing things as they are, and just like be the weird Aquarius. It's like, yeah, it's a holographic reality, it's a matrix, it's all shifting or coming down or whatever is going to happen. I'm not going to attach to this shit, so let me just like relax and just like create, you know, because that's almost like what, I don't want to give it away because so many people didn't see it, but it was like the fourth Matrix movie is like, oh, you know, like we can relax and we can just like create, you know, type thing. We can live in this simulation and just do the things that we want to do and create, and like we don't have to worry. Like there's a relaxation, there's like not like a fear. I think that's the biggest thing, Aquarius, is like you don't need to attach to fear over anything of how anything's gonna go. You just be the weirdo that's just like, yeah, I'm not from here anyway. I'm just like, you know, I'll be okay. I'll just get in my spaceship and go talk to my spirit guides if I need to. And, you know, it'll all work out, especially like if you're in that calm, like cool place, captain's calmest during the storm, and you're just creating and doing your thing. So that's how I would use this month. Finally, we have Pisces. So this is weird. One thing I was like looking at with your astrology is like, can feel like maybe some slippage around like maybe groups of people, friends, spiritual friends. What you're going to be revisiting though is more like the friends that you need to know, like the people that you need to be connected with just for we'll call it, you could say status, survival, just like the right connections, which I'll get into more, but it's like the pressure is in you, who you're showing up as, the magic that you are, but also like in your foundation of how you really feel, how you're really feeling about yourself, Pisces, how you're really feeling about those friendships anyway. It's like a big emotional check-in. How are you feeling about your self-worth? You could do some, creative journaling on this and just like free write journal on it. And that this time I think is meant to be this month of like more creating and manifesting the best things that are just like simple for your foundation, just to make sure that you're guarded and protected. And so it's like not getting swept up in stuff with people too much, or emotional, reactivity, or feeling like pressured on yourself of you're supposed to be in a different position in life, and just go, like, okay, Pisces, I see the world, things are shifting, like Pluto's coming back into Capricorn, so let me just like create my best stuff. Let me just like do like the simple foundational stuff. And the thing is that the creative piece and the manifesting doesn't have to be like some flashy, like, oh my God, it's like, this is what I came here to do. It's more just like, yeah, I'm just gonna be okay and know my worth, and I'm just gonna like create things that, that I'm just gonna feel better when Pluto comes back in the Capricorn, and I won't panic because I just like dealt with, my stuff and took care of me. And so, it's pretty simple, Pisces. It's just not getting swept up in the noise in your head or the drama. So that's a wrap. All in all, with this month, it's like the easiest way I would summarize this is just, I hate to say it like this, but don't be dumb. Like, just handle the basic stuff in your life, like even like as it's the summertime here in North America, I know people like go out and have fun and relax and do this and this and this, but like notice how you're actually feeling. Like, is your soul actually in alignment with like some rejuvenation activity? Because your soul might be called towards something that's more prudent, as I believe I said at the top of the show here, where it's taking care of your basics, but then also a little bit of hustle. And hustle honestly can just look like really focused, dialed in energy in the areas that that is producing the most pressure, and you need to also keep things simple and just take actions. And then that naturally like leads to a better, I'll call it springboard reality, where you can deal with the repercussions of Pluto at the end of Capricorn that come, and sort of like stay elevated, stay prominent in the sense of like a deeper sense of purpose, or a sense of service, even if it's like in your career and you're still like wanting to realize like your deeper purpose. And that's going to be, setting you up better for the next 20 years. So I would just, whatever business savvy decisions of things that you could be doing to set yourself up better, and like maybe you feel like even like if you snooze, or it's like, oh, I was gonna do that thing or this thing, it's like, well, do it now. Do it now, take care of it now, and let yourself just like build from there. Because it's I know it's hard, but it's like we have to make the best of this time and stay like awesome, humble, spiritual beings, and allow our characters to be developed and to lead and find mastery no matter what rung on the ladder it feels like the circumstances are in life. And kind of a Napoleon Hill, like Think and Grow Rich, like type thinking, of still having abundant thinking, like with whatever things are, and just like not falling into doom or gloom, or slipping, or letting go, or giving up energy. It's definitely not a time to do that, even if things don't show up right away in the way that you want them to. Because the more that effort that we put in now in the areas of life that you know you need to focus on, or the areas that were mentioned here today for your in this horoscope, it puts you in a position where you can create space for yourself where you're not feeling stressed or behind the eight ball, and that if you're lacking any clarity and a sense of purpose, mission, destiny, you know, your bigger why, those types of things, you can connect with that. But that's hard to do if you're in a place of fear or feeling behind and struggling just to deal with, you know, some challenges in life. And so I know everyone's in a different place, but I think we've all got some challenge, some pressure in some area of life right now. And even if we're, you know, I think that's the other thing too. I think like some people think like, oh, you know, like it's okay. Like, no, I'm fine. And then it's like, oh, Pluto snuck up on you. Pluto in Capricorn. You know, it's just, it's the outermost planet. It deals with our deep evolution, our truth, and it shifting back and forth between signs is a major deal. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. If y'all want to get your hands on that $33 Astrology E-Book I just did, that link is down below. That'll teach you about your placements in your birth chart. And of course, if you want to get a natal chart reading or a deep dive astrology reading, you can reach out. Those links will be down below as well. We'd love to help you out in what you can do this month to, you know, satisfy just the needs. And as I mentioned, just that that climb to more prominence of, you know, the best things that you can do for your reality right now. And so it's doing it all. It's doing the basics with the can-do attitude, but it's also, I think it's stretching yourself too, to see, you know, how much discomfort can you hold, you know, how committed, how celibate, I'll even use that word, are you to your growth, your expansion, your spiritual path, because that is what is really coming up right now, is who's really on it, who is really ready to say yes. And as I've been learning more and more, it really comes down to a decision. That's the use of our power. It's deciding what we're gonna do, doing it, and then deciding over and over and over again. That's power. That's use of our autonomy. That's use of our free will. All right, love you all. I'll see you next month.